Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Hardware Podcast. My name is Jackson Danner alongside my good friend Omar Borja. This week we are covering the East-West Shrine Bowl, which is taking place this Thursday night in the Big Roomba Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. We have got some excellent draft talent, probably the best all-star game that we've had thus far. And yeah, I'm excited to go over some of these guys, these coaching staffs. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, it's truly been a splendid all-star season. I mean, you had the storylines of the Hula Bowl, and then you had the Tropical Bowl, and then of course this past weekend, what a NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. Like for once, we had a really competitive all-star game that came down to the wire. Sort of climactic with a field goal at the end, a missed field goal at the end, but it was great. I mean, it seems like every postseason game at the Rose Bowl this year has not disappointed. All two of them, that is.
It has not. It has not. Maybe they should move the Super Bowl over there. So
maybe they'll never go back with SoFi. It breaks my heart. They'll never go back with SoFi. But I guess before we start our Shrine Bowl, our Shrine Bowl list, did anyone catch your eye?
I have something real quick because I know multiple times today I've said Shrine Game because for forever this thing was the East-West Shrine Game. I've got some quarters here, and then I've got this handy dandy NFL Network mug that's going to serve as our swear jar. So every time we say Shrine Game, I'm just going to put a few quarters in the swear jar. So.
Okay. Well, I'll Venmo you my quarters because I'm going to call it the Shrine Game because it was a meaningless name change in my opinion. So that's one quarter. Jackson, keep track of my quarters because I think it was a meaningless name change. But I guess before we start into this, I too have my qualms with the East-West Shrine Bowl. But did anyone catch your eye in the NFLPA Bowl last weekend? There's a couple guys for me.
Yeah, definitely. There were some guys that really, stood out. Obviously, I didn't get to watch the whole thing. Unfortunately, had to run some errands. But hey, you were there. You tell me what guys really stood out a lot to you.
Yeah, so I mean the couple, I'm sure like you saw the stat sheet. Cole Kelly really improved from his Hula Bowl performance where he went 2 for 5, won the MVP trophy actually too. So Cole Kelly was great. You also had Aquil Glass helping out his draft stock a bunch. I think he went 9 for 11 for 140 yards. Surprisingly too, you had Michael Cooper of Navy, 3 catches for 52 yards. Out of the on the edge, they had him run a little bit of slot, something that he didn't really do at Navy, but 3 catches, 52 yards was a good deep threat. So he was pretty solid there as well. Bryant Koback, aside from a fumble in the second quarter, looked really good again. So he's helped his draft stock a bunch. That's my short list of guys. On defense, we had Eric Johnson from Missouri State get a call right after the NFLPA Bowl and say, pack your bags, you're going to Mobile. So great for him in Missouri State. Good program there. And I grit my teeth when I say that. Bobby Petrino is doing a great job. Let's just talk about the Shrine Bowl before we have to talk about Bobby Petrino even more.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, but Cole Kelly was obviously the big standout of the game. Like you said, nothing really of note, really, even from his time in Orlando. Luckily, it was able to fly out on the West Coast and get a little bit of a better look, hopefully. And hopefully we see him get a nice, day 3 pick, UDFA contract, something like that, or we can see him in a capacity at the next level and watch him play a little bit of football in August would be awesome. So.
Absolutely. I guess before we start and you get your first player in. So I guess this year the NFL Shrine Bowl and sorry, I'm mixing up the bowl games. The East-West Shrine Game, that's 1 quarter. So I'm at 50 cents, Jackson. I'll Venmo you that. The East-West Shrine Game this year will be on a Thursday night for the first time ever. It'll be played at Allegiant Stadium, the big room. But like we said, it's a bit different. They're partnering with the Pro Bowl. And we talked about this with our good friend Scott from Western College Football Talk. We hope he's doing well. He's hit some troubles lately, but we hope he's doing great. But yeah, we talked about it and how it's a great marketing opportunity for the NFL. But I texted you, Jackson, and I kind of don't like the idea for the fans because part of the splendor of college all-star games is seeing like your favorite college players from your school suit up one last time, against the best of college football has to offer. Like part of the reason I wanted to go to the NFLPA Bowl so much was because Zach Harding, Army's best punter of all time, statistically, was punting at the Rose Bowl. It's very cool. I mean, you see, like, in this, it's a fan of, say, FIU in the same situation with Tommy Heatherly, a Ray Guy finalist, wanting to say, oh, we have our punter punting at NFL Stadium. Oh, it's on a Thursday in Vegas. Have to fly across the country on a Thursday in Vegas and take time off for work. It's not attractive. I'm not a fan. So that's my first qualm. My second one, which I'm sure you have more to say about it, is how they're splitting up the teams east-west. It's not a geographical east versus west game like it's been for the past 90 plus years of the history of the game. They're splitting it up based on defensive schemes and offensive schemes, which it's like, it's the east-west shrine game. It's not the 3-4-4-3 shrine game, So 2 more quarters, that's $1 now. But that's just my qualms with the game. It's still got a lot of tradition and I love it, but it's just tough love.
My biggest complaint with the move to Thursday night is not even that it's on a Thursday. Of course, not a fan of it. Not great for fans, especially in such a big city like this. When it was at the Trop, I think maybe it got a little bit more attention when, being in St. Petersburg. But my biggest complaint is that it's not the Saturday before the Senior Bowl. Traditionally, we would always have it the Saturday before the Senior Bowl. A lot of these execs, not just the scouts, a lot of these GMs, assistant GMs, VP of personnel, a lot of these high level front office guys from the league would be able to go to the Trop and watch practices all week leading up to the East-West Shrine game then. And then now everyone's in Mobile right now. Like, everyone's faced to the Senior Bowl. We've got plenty of first round talent that's there. There's, entire legit NFL coaching staffs in the Lions and Jets that are coaching both sides of the North and South, I guess, there, right? So it's that my biggest complaint is that these guys aren't getting as much of a fair look anymore as they used to, because all these, I can tell you, there's no GM right now that's in Las Vegas watching this. I guarantee you they're all in Mobile right now. They're all scouting over there. There's no head coaches. I'm sure there's no one highly significant there. Sure, they're sending scouts, they're sending whoever. But man, it's not, if a few of these guys really play very well and then perform excellently at the combine, maybe they'll sneak into the back end of day 2. This is not first round talent. This is not even really day 2 talent. This is day 3, hopefully some priority UDFAs that are at this game compared to the first, second, third, fourth round talent that we're seeing consistently at the Senior Bowl. And props to Jim Nagy for, recruiting that talent to come out to Mobile. That's awesome. But we're just not seeing these guys get a fair look. That's my biggest complaint with that.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned the Senior Bowl being like round 1 draft picks. Of course, you got like all the top quarterbacks there at the Senior Bowl. I mean, the Shrine Game and the Hula Bowl 125. The Hula Bowl are they are like the last of the college football all-star games. Where it's like one last hurrah for these guys that like you saw led their teams to bowl games. Like where the stories write themselves. Like, you got a guy like Nick Starkel in the Hula Bowl who transferred to 3 schools. Like, he literally pulled, if you can't beat them, join them with Art from going from Arkansas to San Jose State. And seeing with his law and travel career ending an all-star game. And I mean, we saw Mackenzie Milton in the Hula Bowl. Like, that's definitely like another great college story. So without further ado, it's on a Thursday night. You can cue the pentatonics. Hopefully they bring up the pentatonics. But I gotta say, they had the NFLPA Bowl broadcast in the press box, and I just love hearing the NFL Network jingle, man. Like, I wish it was heard more, especially like with the chimes at the beginning.
It's the best, man. I'm telling you, out of all the network's themes, the Niflin has the best. I'm telling you, I've always thought
it's underrated. It's slept on.
I mean, highly underrated. I'm glad you can agree on something positive about NFL Network with me. Yeah, man. I'll go ahead and move on talking about these coaching staffs a little bit. It's been awesome seeing in previous All-Star games that we've talked about. We've seen Marvin Lewis and Jeff Fisher in the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, 2 longtime former NFL head coaches. We saw some great talent in the Tropical Bowl, some former NFL talent and Arthur Smith and all of them. But now we actually get to see some current NFL coaches. It's really the first All-Star game where we get to see that. All coaches were nominated by their NFL teams These coaches that were nominated were reviewed by the NFL football operations staff, East-West Shrine Bowl leadership, and 2 members of the NFL General Managers Advisory Committee, and then selected to coach in this game. For the East sideline, the head coach is Baltimore defensive back coach D'Anton Lynn. He's a rising star in coaching, a former New York Jets safety. Started out in the coaching world as a scouting intern and has moved up since. The offensive coordinator is Travell Wharton, who is the Washington football team's assistant offensive line coach. The defensive coordinator is Drew Wilkins, the Baltimore Ravens outside linebacker coach. And special teams will be handled by Ed Foley, the Carolina Panthers assistant special teams coach. For the West sideline, Marcus Brady, the Colts offensive coordinator, is going to be the head coach. The offensive coordinator for the West team will be Clayton Adams, the Colts tight ends coach. The defensive coordinator will be Jeff Howard, the Cleveland Browns defensive pass game coordinator. And then the special teams will be handled by Ben Jacobs, who is for the football team and the assistant special teams coach capacity. Both strength staff for this week are actually going to be, it's all from the Raiders, which I think is awesome. So they're staying right from Vegas. And so the strength and conditioning is all going to be from the Raiders. I believe the head strength and conditioning coach is going to be on the East sideline, though. Another really cool note that I wanted to mention. So the athletic training staff, even though it's an all-star game, we still need, general managers, still need equipment managers, athletic trainers, video staff, all members of personnel in that capacity are members from the HBCU Development and Women's Pipeline Initiative. So all these athletic trainers, equipment managers are all from HBCUs, which is also pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, the Shrine Game's been like very 150. It's been very very active with involving the HBCUs, as we'll talk about later on. I mean, I think there is by count 4 HBCU players, hopefully more in the coming years. But it's just great what the Shrine Game's doing. I mean, 175. I mean, of course, with like the kids too. It's 100th anniversary of the Shriners too, as you see in the end zones. Have you seen any end zone footage too? But it's just great, especially with the coaching staffs being nominated by their peers, and it's really like a job interview too for like getting those like higher roles. I think Jennifer King, I think that's her name for the Washington football team, the female running backs coach. It's a great opportunity for her. I know she's out here and in Vegas for the Shrine Game. $2.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's awesome. It, like you said, it really is a job interview when these guys are interviewing for, instead of, Kerry Johnson is going to be the quarterback coach for the East staff. He's the assistant wide receiver coach for Seattle. Hey, who knows? Maybe he gets a quarterback coach interview if EJ Perry and company does well out there. So it'll be awesome to see. And the fact that they were nominated already speaks to their to their capacity to coach in an excellent way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's like, it's just great seeing the coaches. Like you have the former coaches approach in the NFLPA Bowl, and then of course this approach too. So I guess without further ado, Jackson, do you want to head into the players?
Absolutely. That's what we're all here for, right? For the players. Those are going to be the ones we'll be watching. So yeah, let's go into it.
Okay, so I guess I'm going first. So yeah, I guess my first quarterback is a guy that I've talked about a lot on the podcast, and surprisingly, Jackson and I we sort of debated who would talk about him first, and I made a deal for no Gators jokes for the next 3 podcasts. So here we are. Jackson will hold me out on that, but no, it's none other than EJ Perry of Brown, the electric quarterback for the Bears. He is the first Brown quarterback to appear in the Shrine Game since W. Lincoln Fogarty in the 1930. Shrine Game for the 1930 season in December. Fogarty definitely didn't have any. Go ahead, Jackson.
I was just going to say, who is president then, Omar? That's usually how you reference these things.
Oh, yeah. President was Herbert Hoover, and we're in the midst of the Depression. So, but W. Lincoln Fogarty certainly did not have any 3,000-yard years in 1930. But EJ Perry's game is so fun to watch because he's one of those quarterbacks that sort of always plays from behind, and it's through no fault of his own. The Brown defense was kind of rough, as you mentioned a lot. Exhibit A is a 64-38 game against Yale this year, where Perry had 250 passing yards, 76 rushing yards, including a 54-yard rush and or 56-yard rush and a 64-yard touchdown catch. Did everything literally, but still lost 64-38 to the Bulldogs. And the interesting thing is like there's not much tape on Perry too, because he only had one nationally televised game on a Friday night against Harvard. We previewed that. It was kind of disappointing because Brown got blown out by the Crimson, but his tape is electric. I mean, the one thing that I liked a lot looking at his profile on the Draft Network was the scout said he has his NFL comparison is Tyler Heineke because of those magician like qualities, and you can see it too, how he gets out of the pocket, throws on the run, not afraid to run up the middle, throw a shoulder into someone. He's just a tough quarterback, and that Heineke consideration, I mean, it's really good because if you look at Tyler Heineke's coming out party, it was the NFC wild card in 2020, an overmatched Washington football team playing against Tom Brady. And there Heineke is, going throw for throw with Tom Brady. And you can easily see EJ Perry in a situation like that, in my opinion. Maybe I'm biased. I know you had a lot to say about EJ Perry.
I mean, you really summed it up all well, man. I mean, EJ Perry, like you said, he's a do-it-all quarterback. Throws great on the run, magician-like qualities in a time where it's a Super Bowl between two number one picks, Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow. It's important to remember that the Tyler Heinekes and the Jim Harts that went undrafted, right? And still contributed a lot to their teams. So.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at it, you mentioned Matthew Stafford. I mean, you look at his landing spot, it's easy to see him in a place where he either puts pressure on a guy like maybe a Baker Mayfield. I know the Browns signed Kevin Davidson out of Princeton after the 2020 draft. And maybe you see him with the Rams too, where the Rams are not in a position to groom a top flight quarterback out of the draft in literally none of the drafts until 2024 because they keep trading their first round picks. Maybe you see the Rams draft EJ Perry and have him learn behind Matthew Stafford, a guy with magician-like qualities himself, a guy who's in a situation like Perry was at Brown with not much talent around him, but still made things work. So maybe you see that with Perry too. The one concern as well, it's not all roses. The interceptions, he's at 22 the past 2 years, but it's like maybe you can chalk that up to, I guess, a less than elite receiving core. Generally, I guess a more elite defenses in the Ivy League because they've had some very solid defenses as well. So, but overall, we're excited to like this quarterback crop. I'm going to say it. I'm more excited for this quarterback crop than the Senior Bowl crop because they're exciting to watch. A lot of the stories aren't centered around them. So you're going to see some guys that you remember and some guys are just really, I mean, their style of play is different. It's unconventional.
Yeah, this is a league where you can't do it all the time. You can't rely too much on it, but you need to be able to make unscheduled plays. Like the Jimmy Johnson quote, right? If you only do what I coach you to do, it's not going to be any good. If you never do what I coach you to do, it's not going to be any good. So you need to be able to make off-platform, off-schedule plays for sure. Another guy who is not as well known as EJ Perry for doing that is Brock Purdy, my first quarterback from the West team, the quarterback from Iowa State. One scouting report summed it up perfectly. He has enough mobility. He's certainly not going to scramble around. It's certainly better than that. There aren't too many pocket passers drafted now. Maybe like Kyle Trask, where it's just, really hard for Trask to escape the pocket. So he has enough mobility. Not going to be a running quarterback, but he does typically need a little bit of a clean pocket. What I would really like to see is for him to succeed under pressure here. Now we're not going to see, I believe if it's like the Senior Bowl, blitzes are not allowed in this game. You can only rush a maximum of 4. And it can't be like from an interior linebacker. It has to be from like an edge rusher, defensive lineman, obviously. So we may not get to see him under too much pressure, but hopefully we get to see a little bit and obviously have wish Purdy success in that.
Yeah, and honestly, Purdy's just a winner too. I mean, you look at 2020 Iowa State, maybe not so much this year, but Iowa State has never been an easy place to win. Chalked it up to him having Breece Hall or Matt Campbell as his coach. But I mean, Purdy played a great part in it as well. I mean, those Iowa State teams have plenty of talent, but again, it is Iowa State. No disrespect. It's a tough place to win, honestly, just due to the history.
He helps his team be the best that they can be, I believe, is the ultimate goal for Iowa State, right? So
yeah, exactly. The best that they can be in, like, on the doorstep of a Big 12 title. Like, I mean, that's really saying a lot. In a Fiesta Bowl berth, that's great for that program. You mentioned pocket passers, and there aren't many. There is one pocket passer really in this game, Jack Cohn of Notre Dame. It's kind of crazy that he slipped into this one, and not the Senior Bowl, of course, with him being a Notre Dame quarterback. I mean, and it's just a great point you make about how the game's changing. There's like not really any like pocket passes. Like, everyone has some mobility. Like Cone really does not have much mobility. But yeah, you look at other quarterbacks in the crop too, like Derek King. Of course, he has great mobility. That might be hindered by his knee injuries, but again, great mobility. Skyler Thompson, great mobility. And I guess our next guy, another guy that we both liked, Dustin Crum. And Dustin Crum is like, I mean, he's why you watch these college all-star games. Like, he's why you watch a game of the Shrine, like the Shrine game, 225. I mean, because he, like, you didn't really see him much. I mean, you didn't really see him much aside from midweek action. When you saw him in midweek action, he absolutely delivered. Like, there was like a game, I think it was like a 70-41 game in the middle of the week in 2020, where it was just like score after score, and Crum was out there putting up points. Even this year too, with Rocky Lombardi, like going when Rocky Lombardi threw for over 500 yards against Kent State, and Crum was going throw for throw with him. Just a great runner. He doesn't look fast. He has he's a long strider. His running form is a very long. He's a long strider runner. He's got a beautiful deep ball from what I saw. The knock from draft scouts is Crum's footwork and his release. It's very unorthodox. So maybe the coaching will help him improve there. But Kent State, the last quarterback, but I mean, Kent State is usually a place where quarterbacks go and do other things in the NFL. First, you have Josh Cribbs, the great return man for the Browns, who played quarterback in the early 2000s. And of course, everyone knows Julian Edelman too, who played quarterback at Kent State in the late 2000s, but changed to receiver. I don't see Crum changing to receiver too, but he's an intriguing prospect just because of the excitability too. I mean, do yourself a favor and watch the 2019 Frisco Bowl where he went throw for throw with Jordan Love. I mean, that was his coming out party. So Dustin Crum, you must watch TV.
absolutely, I forgot about that, going throw to throw with Jordan Love. That was awesome. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see Crum. I know I had him on my list, and you were like, you can't take Crum. I gotta talk about Crum. So ended up taking Purdy. I'm gonna go ahead and go with football is better with the fullback, right? I'm gonna go ahead and take the fullback, Clint Rakovich, the fullback from Northern Illinois. Man, such a smart player. I'd really like to see him utilized in some kind of unique ways. He's listed as a running back in this game, so hopefully we do get to see him, not just in a fullback capacity. I'd like to see him pass protect a lot. Probably won't need it that much since blitzes aren't allowed. Also would like to see him get involved in some screen games and what he can do in the yard after catch capacity. So
that's great that fullbacks are alive and well in this game, because you mentioned that. And I guess before I mentioned this other fullback, just to close out the quarterback discussion. We got Skyler Thompson too, another guy that I'm sure a lot of people remember from Kansas State. Seems like he's been there forever, since like 2017 or 2016. But he's got good mobility. He's got good leadership skills too. Beat Oklahoma a couple times in his career. He's got a lot of accuracy in the short game. Down the field, there's some concerns about his arm strength, but just a guy that he's tough, runs the ball well, good mobility. And of course, Derek King too, a guy who makes a lot of plays, great throws. Durability is a bit of an issue, size a bit of an issue, but man, just give Derek King a shot, honestly, to play quarterback. I'm excited for that. So moving on to the other fullback on the other side for the East team, you got Xander Horvath of Purdue. And honestly, I love Xander Horvath's tape, because the guy's big. Make no mistake about it. He's a big guy, a fullback for Purdue, but he's got great agility, can make people miss an open field. There's a couple of highlights of him hurdling people, can run you over, a great pass catcher for Purdue, lines up in shotgun, takes carries and everything. For instance, this year, he had 17 catches, 108 yards, 91 carries, 320 yards. The year before, or I guess the last full year being 2019, pulling up his stats, more involved in the passing game as well. So this is a guy that can be an H-back, can be a running back. Where's number 40 for Purdue? Kind of reminds me of another fullback that wore number 40 for Purdue, Mike Allstott. So maybe teams use him there, but just the possibilities to use Xander Horvath in the backfield are endless, honestly. And I think Horvath can kind of slide in as either a 7th round draft pick or possibly higher too, because teams need H-backs. If they don't use fullbacks, to use H-backs, and Horvath is very versatile.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, fullbacks are alive and well. Would love to see just a few fullback dives, and this would be awesome, right? I'll go ahead and go with my next guy, also from the West. All these guys, for me at least, have been from the West side. Tay Martin, the wide receiver from Oklahoma State. He's quick, not fast, which is definitely what you would prefer. I would love to see him again in some run blocking, maybe in some outside the tackle stuff. Uh, his only knock, besides not being a vertical threat, like he's great before that, and he's certainly not like slow. He's just not gonna, take the top off like, DK Metcalf or someone like that. Um, his only knock besides that has been that he's dropped a few easy balls. And so I'd like to see him just a clean game, no drops. Get on some, maybe refine his route tree a little bit, and get to see. I mean, he's getting some great work in for sure with these loaded NFL coaching staff, so that'll be awesome. And yeah, wishing Tay all the best.
Yeah, and Oklahoma State's a bit of a wide receiver factory. I mean, Des Bryant, Justin Blackman, in terms of having great college careers, Justin Blackman, James Washington, Tylan Wallace, and then now Tay Martin. Like it's a great place for receivers, and it's great to see another Oklahoma State receiver. And I'm sure we'll get those drops kinked out, those drops worked out, because you know what drop troubles this preseason are well publicized, Jamar Chase, and look where he's at now. So easy fix right there, and we'll see.
Remember the tweet that was like Jamar Chase would love the XFL with the big stripes on the side? Those jokes are long gone. Those are long gone.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the Panay Sewell jokes about like whenever you drop a pass and say Panay Sewell would have caught that. But we're well past that, and I'm happy for Jamar Chase. So staying on the offensive side of the ball, a guy that I liked a lot, a receiver I liked a lot, was Derek Young out of Little Lenoir-Rhyne in North Carolina. And this guy was a late ad, and I like him because as a Niners fan, Deebo Samuel is now my favorite player, to be quite honest with you, because he's just, I mean, so versatile. There's so many uses for him. He's great in the open field. He's tough as nails, carrying the ball, will run you over. Derek Young's kind of the same type of guy. In 2019, he had 49 carries for 339 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had 25 catches for 515 yards and 8 touchdowns. So every third catch, he was catching a touchdown for Lenoir-Rhyne. And aside from that too, he's not like a small guy. Like he doesn't get the ball a lot because he's like a small Darren Sproles type guy who's like good in space. He's a big guy. He's 6'3", 220. I mean, he's bigger than Deebo Samuel. So same sort of big build, tough receiver. And especially with I sense a lot of teams will get Deebo fever in trying to draft a guy that they can turn into Deebo Samuel, but it will be like fitting a square peg into a round hole. I think Derek Young has a chance to really fit that bill, given his running experience too. And I can definitely see him running through the tackles, being a 6'3", 220 guy. So look at how, I mean, I want to see how the coaches for the East, actually is it the East or the West? For the West, it was for the West. Yeah, how the coaches for the West use Derek Young, if they run him inside the tackles to sort of take advantage of that sort of Deebo effect, or if they throw deep to him, because he's a proven deep threat out of Lenoir-Rhyne.
Yeah, that'll be awesome to see. I feel like Deebo Samuel is going to be one of those names that like we see overused in the comparison world come the combine and the draft. So hopefully it's not used too much. But I mean, this guy seems like an accurate description of Deebo, and the size is like mind blowing. If he's that good in space, yeah. I'm curious. Do you know if he punt returned at any point in his career?
He returned kicks. He had 7 for 104, I believe.
Okay. I will say,
much,
and I've
though.
mentioned it before, scouts love it when you have kick return at some point because you're comfortable in space, you're comfortable taking angles, stuff like that. So that's certainly a plus. That would make a lot of sense that he kick return for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's what these games are for. Like the NFLPA Bowl had kick returns like the Hula Bowl. You saw some guys like Jaquez Ezzard. You saw Jaquez Ezzard in space, did some good things returning punts. Montreal Washington had 1 kick return, but there's already footage of him returning kicks. So yeah, like you say, and there's a bunch of guys. There's a couple of guys that I have on my list that return kicks so well, and we're very adept at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we get full on. I would assume if there's special teams coordinators for this, like there are in this game, then we would see special teams be a point of emphasis, since a lot of these guys, that's how you make the roster, right? Is special teams. I'll go ahead and go with my next guy, Derek Deese, a name that we've talked a lot about. Derek Deese Jr., I should specify, the wide receiver from San Jose State. Smart dude, 2019 and 2020 Mountain West all academic team. He was a semifinalist for the Mackey Award. And then he's just a long, lanky receiver. It's a great body type. Son of former 49ers offensive tackle Derek Deese, who we've also talked about on here. A chance for him to shine, and looking forward to seeing Deese. He's going to be on the east side.
See, it's all messed up. You got a guy in California playing on the East, but I'll save my comments for later. But Derek Deese, it's interesting. Like, is he listed as a wideout? Are there size concerns about him being a receiver? Like, is he too lean to be a tight end?
I believe so. He is listed as a receiver for this game. So,
okay,
I got the chart right here for the height weight for the weigh-ins. He is 6'3". You know what? I was wrong. He actually is listed as a tight end. I could just warn you. He's 6'3", 236.
Yeah, that's good size.
6'3" and 236, and 33 and a half inch arms too. Yeah, 82-inch wing.
Yeah, that's good size for sure. And Deese, he's got great ball skills, great jump ball skills as well. And of course, Las Vegas is a happy place for a lot of Spartan fans too. After last year's Mountain West title game, when they beat Boise State at their pseudo home field at Sam Boyd Stadium. Actually, the last football game at Sam Boyd Stadium. It's quite sad. But I'm excited to see Deese. This is a good tight end group. The Senior Bowl's got an excellent tight end group, but there's I'd say this group is intriguing because the next guy that I'm going to talk about is Armani Rogers out of UNLV and Ohio. Most of you remember Armani Rogers being a quarterback for UNLV, pretty injury prone. Over his career in 3 years with UNLV, he missed a total of 8 of 16 games over those 3 years. And there was always flashes of excellence for UNLV too, with that strong running game that they had. But he's great running the ball. I'm not sure if you saw that 99-yard touchdown he had earlier this year, but in 10 games for UNLV and in his freshman year, 780 yards rushing. He had 565 yards rushing in 6 games for UNLV in 2018. This year for Ohio, used in mostly a Wildcat capacity. He had 90 carries for 529 yards, almost 6 yards of carry and 7 touchdowns. He's got good tight end size, 6'5", 225. And don't count out Armani Rogers, because you look at a guy like Logan Thomas, who tried to do the whole thing as a quarterback, try to make as a quarterback, and was a very good tight end for the Washington football team. And then you look at Tyree Jackson as well. Like, Tyree Jackson did the same thing, trying to make it as a big quarterback. And then he just switched to tight end. So it's not as silly as it seems. And I would love to see Armani Rogers be a quarterback in this All-Star game, especially in front of his former home crowd in Vegas. But I think this is a good move for his career, just based on recent trends. So look for Armani Rogers. We'll see how it adjusts to the position change in the Shrine game. I think it's 250.
I'll go ahead and go with my next guy. I'm going to go with the center, actually, Alec Lindstrom, the center from Boston College. Remember when Mike Mayock, before he was at the Raiders, used to, call the East-West Shrine Bowl, and he would almost get in trouble with NFL Network producers because of how often he wanted to show the end zone angle so that he could really show the offensive line and the defensive line and all that, right? Hopefully NFL Network keeps that up so you can see Lindstrom. According to NFL Sapien, he has a first or second round projection, so supposed to go really high. He's one of 5 Boston College players ever to be first all ACC team twice in his career. His dad is in the Boston College Hall of Fame and also spent a few years in the NFL. His older brother was a first-round pick in 2019 to the Falcons. Really, the only knock on him is that he's a little undersized for a center. He's slightly above 6'3", 294 and 32-inch arms. And he's going to be going against Ryder Anderson from Indiana, Matthew Butler from Tennessee. There's some good players on the West defensive line, as he'll be playing on the East.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the lineups too. I guess the matchup as well, because that's something I guess I definitely overlooked, like who the players will be facing up against. I didn't really get to see much practice footage, but just to see how they match up size wise. For me, 6'3", 294 seems like a big guy for a center, but I guess a big guy in general. But I guess for a center, you're definitely right. He is facing an uphill battle. But
And you're in the trenches right there. So you want a really big guy that is you don't want size to ever be an issue when you're right in the middle of that. You don't want to go against Aaron Donald, a guy that powerful, and just not have the size to go against him, right? So this isn't defensive line where you can kind of be a little bit sneaky. This is you need just mass up front.
Absolutely. And we'll see. I mean, there's time for him to bulk up, obviously, I guess before the draft and in summer camps as well. Well, staying with the trenches too, you mentioned, I'm going to go with the guy that's in the West, a West Pointer, Nolan Cockrell. And the scouting report for the Hula Bowl, when they were at the Army Navy game was they tweeted out Nolan Cockrell, agile, athletic, interior defensive lineman with a 4.3 D tackle projection at the NFL level, good pursuit and ability to fight in traffic. I mean, Nolan Cockrell too, like he's not your conventional big body defensive tackle like they say. Of course, he plays for West Point. They have the size restrictions as well. But I mean, he's just a guy that's just strong as heck. And it's pure muscle. Like I just don't like, he's not like, you look at him, you wouldn't think he's a defensive side. You think he's like a defensive end or something with like how he's built. This past year, 7 tackles for loss, as well as in 2020 on some great defenses for Army. Of course, I'm excited to see any West Pointer in a all-star game. But I'm excited to see how he fits in. I guess this is where the, knowing that Army runs sort of like a 3-4 and they had Cockrell running more. Yes. Like, of course, running the interior, but I guess I want to see how he does in a 4-3 scheme where he doesn't have to plug the middle against a huge center where he's faced off against a guard. I would love to see Cockrell do that. That's one benefit of having it divided schematically. So Nolan Cockrell representing the West Pointers out there. So, going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely will be. I mean, all these guys are going to be fun to watch. That's definitely one guy that I'm looking forward to in particular to watching. I'll go ahead and go with my next guy, Jermaine Waller, the corner from Virginia Tech, playing on the east side of the ball. So at least it makes sense. He has a 3rd or 4th round projection. Began his high school career actually as a quarterback. Then he flipped over, and now he's an NFL prospect as a corner. He had an interception 4 of his first 5 games this year. So obviously, quarterbacks learn pretty early on not to throw the ball to him after 4 or 5 games. Missed the 2020 season due to injury, unfortunately. And he also, he's best as an outside corner, so I wouldn't really expect to see him really in that slot or nickel position. Great length, is flat 6, 175 and 31-inch arms. So I'm excited to see Waller again.
Yeah, and I will say on defense, I think the strongest position group in the whole Shrine game, 275, is the defensive backs. There's a ton of guys that are at smaller schools or even transfers. Like there's a couple guys on there's one guy on my list that transferred from Alcorn State, Quintez Cole, I believe. Sorry, nope, not Quintez, Quintarius. Yeah, Quintario Cole. Geez, I'm gonna get ate up by the HBCU community about that. Quintario Cole, who transferred to Louisville, we'll talk about a little bit later. But just a strong defensive back core. So I'm gonna mention a couple defensive backs at once. You got Bryce Watts out of UMass. UMass quickly being known as Dude Mast with Don Brown coaching there now. Excited to see what he's doing out there. But Bryce Watts, a bright spot for UMass this year. 4 pass breakups. The book on him is good size and length for boundary, fluid mover with makeup speed, explosive burst and springs in his feet to high point, footwork massively improved over the years, and flash ball steals to the football and through wide receivers' hands and willing to hit. And that is from I don't have the Twitter account pulled up, but let's see. So I'll pull that up really quick. That was a book on him by Matt Lane of KCSN. And also too, he did good against some solid competition this year against Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison only had 5 catches or 40 yards for Pitt against Bryce Watts. So I do think that people threw away from him against UMass because I don't think that defense had a lot of depth, but great to see Bryce Watts for UMass representing the Minutemen there in Vegas. And they've had a couple guys playing the Shrine game couple years, like in the past few years. They had Marquise Young, good running back in 2018. They had Blake Fronapple, great quarterback in 2016, along with Tajay Sharp. So UMass puts out some good talent. I just hope they put it together and have bowl appearance.
Yeah, hopefully so. That would be awesome to see. I'll go ahead and go. I've actually got my last two guys, if you're ready. It's a little bit of a pair. I'm going to keep it really simple for you guys. They're just kind of going to be casually watching Thursday night. So when the East has the ball, the West is on defense. Watch for the orange helmets on the West defense. Nolan Turner, the safety, and Balin Spector, the linebacker, both are from Clemson, both going to be on the West defense. Nolan Turner, the safety, great coming downhill. I'd really look for a big hit. He's better at hitting than he is wrapping up, honestly. Great range, takes solid angles. He's early day 3 right now, according to NFL Sapien. I'd look for him to raise his stock even to the latter half of day 2. And then Balin Spector, the linebacker, 11 tackles and 1 interception versus Georgia in the Dukes Mayo kickoff. So played very good against the best team in the country. 4 games with 8+ tackles. So he obviously, run all over the field tackling. Dabo actually called him and Skowski the Bruise Brothers. So definitely something to watch with Spector and Turner when the East has the ball.
I like how you broke it down like that, because I don't know if they swapped decals in the East-West Shrine game, but they certainly did it a lot in the Hula Bowl, the NFLPA Bowl. So it's like it's hard to keep track of at times. So it's good that you put the orange helmets as well. So I guess I got a few more guys than you. Just quick blurbs. There's a lot of great small school defensive talent, or defensive back talent. Like I said, it's like the best group. So a couple guys from Division II. You got Sam Webb out of Missouri Western, a guy that's a physical corner who can play safety, makes great angles in open field. Like a lot of his highlight tape that I can find on YouTube was just him like making great hustle plays, like, which is like, it's great for special teams, like guys trying to break on for special teams. Like maybe the team will see that and will want to try him out on special teams, and from there he gets a starting spot. So a great defensive back out of Missouri Western, 32 career pass breakups, so an absolute ball hawk. And then for staying Division II, you have Dallas Flowers, a guy that actually started at NAIA Grandview playing for the East. So he's an outstanding return man. Let's get that started with that. He averaged 38 yards of kick return in 2019 and a 34-yard return average in 2021. So hopefully he's returning kicks at the Shrine game on Thursday. He's had 9 picks the last 2 years. He's got great breaking speed on the ball. Just a guy too that can probably make money on special teams with that return average, 2 return punts as well, had an 11-yard average. So just a good defensive backcourt, guys that can, find themselves doing stuff on special teams, whether it be defending kicks or returning them with Sam Webb and Dallas Flowers. And then finishing off with like my final 2 other guys, closing it off with the HBCUs. We have a guy like Jacoby Durant who's gotten a lot of hype in draft circles, especially after his performance against Clemson when he picked off, I think, 2 passes against the Tigers. Earlier this spring in 2021, he picked off Aquila Glass, the guy that's rising of draft boards. He picked him off 3 times for Alabama A&M. So Jacoby Durant, the book on him, and I quote, this is from the Draft Network as well. They make some great scouting reports that are not behind a paywall, thankfully. The book on him says Durant is quick-footed, and as a quick-footed and active quarterback prospect, possessing a smooth back pedal, he's easy to plant. He's easily able to plant, drive, and attack downhill on targets once the ball is released into his coverage areas. Light on his feet, he contains adequate turn and run skills as he remains in phase through the duration of routes. So just a really light-footed corner, and a lot of that's owed to his size, which is the main knock on him, that he needs to gain some weight. But again, I have no doubt that I'll be able to do that. But just, a really hidden gem. Kind of reminds me of a Dominique Rogers-Cromartie, a guy coming out of HBCU that has really great ball talent. He had 12 pass breakups this year and 3 interceptions, 4 picks in the spring. So great guy there. And my last guy, we got Deshawn Dixon, defensive end out of Norfolk State. This guy just bullied MEAC linemen. Really strong bull rush. He doesn't really wow you with speed like a guy like Daniel Hardy in the NFLPA Bowl did. But just a great bull rush, 9 sacks this year, 12.5 tackles for loss on a Norfolk State team that was resurgent this year. A lot of people didn't really expect them to make noise out of the MEAC, and they almost won the conference title. So great HBCU talent there. We also have James Houston, former Gator in Jackson State and now Jackson State Tiger, who played in the NFLPA Bowl as well. And I think he also played in the Hula Bowl. Maybe it was just NFLPA Bowl, but he's also playing the Shrine Bowl. He's listed on the roster.
I think he was in the Hula. I could be wrong.
I think so. Yeah, he was making the rounds. So yeah, another double dipper too. Speaking of double dippers, you have there's 2 of them that I know, or there's 3 that I know of. You have Tommy Heatherly out of Georgia Tech, the punter, or Tommy Hidley out of Florida International, the punter. You have Isaiah Pacheco, the running back, who had a strong showing in the Hula Bowl as well. And then you also have a safety from Georgia Tech. His name's escaping me right now. That's what happens when you double dip. There's so many doggone players. He's definitely on the West. I mean, shoot, that kind of messed me up. A guy in Georgia Tech be on the West, but there should be a jar for me complaining about every player being misplaced geographically. If I can find him, this is embarrassing. But anyway, yeah, there's a double dipper from Georgia Tech. I think it's Taquari Roberson, I think his name is. So just more double dippers. It's good to see guys out there playing in multiple All-Star games to get themselves out there. So
I thought I found it. I'm trying to find it myself here. Sorry, I don't see it. I'm looking for it on here. But yeah, man. No, plenty of guys to watch. And what I would recommend for you guys, if you go to the East West Shrine Bowl's website, you can download this really handy spreadsheet of the roster and the weigh-ins and all that. I know I'm gonna print it out, just have it by my side and watch it, just so you can know who you're watching, man, on these games, because that's really gonna be what's important, and certainly what you're gonna want to know come late April. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, even especially the small school guys too, it's useful for that because a lot of people, and it's kind of wrong, including myself, don't really make the rounds to Division II football to see a guy like Dallas Flowers. Even there's a couple Canadian guys playing this game too. So it'll be handy to see if you don't recognize a school, good to shout that school out too. And I just want to show the logo for Missouri Western, what a logo that is. I don't know if anyone ever noticed this logo, but it is literally a griffin that is the shape of Missouri. I just want to shout out Missouri Western's logo, as they have Sam Webb representing them in this game. So yeah, but should be fun. What time is the game again? Eastern time? Is it 8:00 Eastern on NFL Network? Or is it?
I don't even know. Let me look it up. I'm not sure.
I got the website on my laptop right now. Let me check that. It is
8 Eastern. Yep.
8 Eastern. Cool. All right. Yeah. So it should be a fun game. Is the field going to be painted to the Pro Bowl already? Are they just kind of forgetting this game happened? No. They got the Shriners in the end zone because they have. If you look at the practice footage, it says 100 years. This is the 100th anniversary of the Shriners, I believe. So it's just great to see that. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Of course, seeing Thursday Night Football again, at the Roomba, but heck, we'll see. We'll see if the fans turn out. I'm not sure if the fans will turn out, but it's great for the TV viewers because what else is there to do on a Thursday night? One last Thursday Night Football run. Absolutely. So great to see. Always good to see TNF. We got the Pro Bowl Sunday, and then man, it is we got the Senior Bowl on Saturday, and then cap it off at the Pro Bowl. So a great weekend of football. Last one with multiple games until we got the XFL starting. Absolutely. Not even the XFL, the USFL is coming up. Not XFL, USFL. And fan controlled football too has got something cooking as well. I'm more excited for FCF than I am USFL personally. Yeah, especially after today when they dropped the news that they're building their venue this year at the historic Pullman Yards in Atlanta. It's just a different setting. It's historic trade district, and they're just building their arena there. So it's cool too. Nice. So okay. Yeah, I'm excited as well. And after this, we have they're not renting a place; they're building it. It's like a build and tear down type thing, I think. I don't think it's I don't think they're renting it, but yeah. So I guess before those leagues start, we got 2 more All-Star games. We got the Senior Bowl on this Saturday, and then we have the HBCU Legacy Bowl on the 18th. And then that'll be a cap on college football season, and draft season will have officially started. So yeah, do you have anything else to say, Jackson? Not at all. I'm excited for these are my 2 favorite ones personally, the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. So I'm excited. We're doing our Senior Bowl preview tomorrow, which will also come out. So I'm excited about that one. Probably my favorite show that we do of the year. Yeah, exactly. Mine too. And do yourself a favor if you want to just get ready and just really get a grasp for the history of the Shrine game. I think it's 325. look at the old programs. They have all the programs from every single game. Well, not all the programs, but every single roster sheet from every game in the history of the Shrine Game, 350. And just like look how the games change over the years. Like sort of you can see the evolution of college football where you see rosters heavy with schools like Bucknell, Lafayette, and Duquesne. And you see that sort of go away as like how college football is nowadays. So, nice little college football history lesson on the East West Shrine Game site, 375. And yeah, so I mean, if Jack says nothing else to say, another great episode, and peace, love, and soul, everyone.